I'm Kyle Busch.
Hi, I'm Ericsson Neves.
I'm Kevin Harvick.
Hey, I'm Kyle Petty.
Hey, I'm Colton Herted.
Hi, I'm Mike Bagley.
And I'm Pete Pistone.
I'm Mario Andretti, and you are listening to Jack Arut's Wind Tunnel.
You're entering the Wind Tunnel with Jack Arut. No spin, no bull, all Jack. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by
Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.
Here is your host, Jack Arut.
Welcome to another edition of the Racing Podcast that is dedicated to giving you the very best talk about your passion, auto racing. This week, I've put together visits with three drivers who represent some of the foundational elements to the world of motorsports. I'll visit with NTT Indycar'S Marcus Ericsson, who drives the Huski Chocolates Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing, and talk not only about his first career victory this season, but also why so many Formula One drivers are migrating to IndyCars. Chip Ganassi Racing's Ross Chastain on the NASCAR side traces his journey from his family's Florida watermelon farm to NASCAR's Elite Cup Series. In my conversation with him, you'll discover what Ross terms his most disappointing moment in his racing career, as well as thoughts about Kyle Busch's recent criticism of him following the Quaker State 400 in Atlanta. This week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap features an Army veteran, Jeff Sarver, who races at Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. I trace his journey from a military career as a bomb disposal technician to short track racer, and how that short track racing community has provided him the friendship and camaraderie that military veterans often struggle to find when they return to civilian life. And you'll also learn about his direct connection to the Oscar-winning movie, The Hurt Locker. And in my story time, I'll share a story about Evel Knievel and a hot summer night where my dad and that motorcycle daredevil locked horns. So let's get started, shall we? Let's kick things off with this week's news and notes. IndyCar's and NASCAR's trucks were idle, but there was tons of Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series action over the weekend. And to catch you up with that, here's PRN's host of At the Track, Lenny Baticki.
Thanks a lot, Jack. This is your NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series Racing Report. Wow, the tracks were racing this weekend. We'll start at Alaska Raceway Park. John Clayham got the win there. Daniel Dye saw the checkers first at Berlin Raceway in Michigan. In Wisconsin, Kevin Burdick won at Cedar Lake. Bobby Wilberg won at Madison. And Nick Merchick and Justin Mulligan won at La Crosse. Colorado National to Ron O'Neill. Billy Bone and John Lemke split the wins in Minnesota at Elko. Evergreen Speedway in Washington to Steve Cox. Memphis Villarreal, the winner at Houston Raceway in Texas. Virginia, Dominion, it was Ryan Matthews, while across the state at Langley it was Matt Carter. Jake Groves, a winner in Canada at Eastbound. Grand Bend to Steve Aaron, and Rick Spencer-Walt got the win at Sunset. In California at Irwindale, Jeremy Doss got a big victory. Kingsport, Tennessee, the concrete jungle to Chase Dixon. Nick Beidinger parked his car in Victory Lane at Lakeside in Kansas. Magic Valley Speedway in Idaho to Donovan DeBar and Jason Quayle, while Daytona Works was the big winner at Meridian. Riverhead Raceway in New York to David Antos. Jerry Guile got the win in Illinois at Rockford. Seekonk Speedway in Massachusetts to Tim Ouellette. Steve Churchill, a winner in Iowa at Adams County. Florence Motor Speedway in South Carolina, winner once again, Zach Miracle. Jake Finch, a winner in Florida at New Smyrna. Tucson Speedway in Arizona to Brian O'Brien. And Brian Kruzik was the winner at Lee USA Speedway in New Hampshire. Speaking of Lee USA and Monadnock Speedways were this week's Advance Auto Parts home track highlights on Ryan Blaney's number 12 at the race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. That's your NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series Racing Report. Thanks a lot, Jack. Have a great week.
Before I give you the NASCAR Xfinity and Cup updates from Loudon, the 6-week Summer Superstar Racing Saturday Night Series brought their curtain down at the Nashville Fairgrounds 5/8 mile.
Fans on their feet, here they come to the green flag of the main event in Nashville. Bill Elliott leads lap 1, back in traffic. Chase Elliott Had a little moment off of the corner, but managed to get it clear. He's lined up fourth now behind Ernie Francis Jr. Castroneves right behind him in red.
Watching this father-son battle happen at the front, no less.
Yeah.
You know, they're not just both on track. They're both running together, and they're both running for the lead here. This is very, very cool to watch.
A little look-see off turn 4 for Chase Elliott on Bill.
Chase is getting just the fractionally better run off of 2, but it's just not quite enough. He'll like that second lane in 3 and 4. It opens the door up on the bottom for Chase, but just so hard to put the power down when you're running tight off the corner like that. Great jump on that outside lane from Bill Elliott. Bobby Labonte trying to follow him through now. Oh, he goes high. Potential 3 wide. Chase goes through to the lead and 3 wide behind him for second place.
Final corners here in Nashville. Elliott hanging on over Stewart. Checker flag is out, and Chase Elliott will win tonight in Music City.
I had a ball. Got to race against 2 of my heroes. Got to race against Dad there throughout the race, and those are moments I'll cherish forever. So just super thankful to be here.
What was it like, door to door with your dad, so many laps tonight?
Just amazing. I don't know what lit a fire under him tonight, but he was as aggressive as I've seen him in years. So it was amazing. And
The championship for the series went to the series co-founder and NASCAR Hall of Famer Tony Stewart, better known to millions as Just Smoke.
How could you ask for more than to finish in between 2 Elliots? I mean, that's pretty badass in itself, and man, it's just a huge honor to race with Chase again, and win this championship's awesome.
Meanwhile, the 1 Mile New Hampshire International Motor Speedway played host to NASCAR's Xfinity and Cup Series, and first up was the Xfinity Series action on Saturday afternoon.
Field rolls around, exit of turn 4 down to the front straightaway, waiting on that green flag to start. Here it is. The green flag is out, and we're underway. Christopher Bell is going to win this stage. This 54 car has been fast. We saw it right at the start of the race, how it went through the center of the corner, how he was driving through traffic.
White flag this time, 1-4.
1 to go. Who gets the win today? It'll be the last 6 races at New Hampshire that Joe Gibbs Racing has won. Christopher will be joining Kyle Busch as the second driver to win 3 straight races at New Hampshire. Off of turn 4, Christopher Bell dominates the New Hampshire race here.
What I got figured out is I got really, really fast race cars to drive. I just love being here with Joe Gibbs Racing. Hopefully this Camry's just as good tomorrow, but man, it feels good to win. I mean, I think these weekends with no practice and qualifying, you're not sitting in the car until they drop the green flag. This is a really big advantage, especially coming here. The Xfinity Series rules package is really similar to the Cup Series rules package, so hopefully it'll be pretty similar, and I really hope that we got a really fast Camry tomorrow, and just really proud to be at Joe Gibbs Racing. Everyone here does an amazing job.
Then on Sunday, it was the 50th NASCAR Cup race held at the Magic Mile when they dropped the rag for the Foxwoods Resorts 301.
For the 50th time, we're going to race the Cup cars in New England.
The battle to win a giant lobster has started here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Green flag is in the air. Kyle Busch will lead them down into turn 1.
And we've got a lot of rain here in turns 1 and 2. Trouble into the outside wall. Both of the cars running up front in the rain, into the heavy mist on the racetrack, and big damage for both Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr.
The red flag has been displayed here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Chase Elliott leads them into the Geico restart zone. We're about to get back underway on lap 23 here at New Hampshire, side by side. Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, Chase into turn 1.
4 Fords up front right now, and the challenge for the lead is Ryan Blaney has caught the tail end of Brad Keselowski, and Keselowski pulls him back to the end of the straightaway.
Almirola's got it rolling, though. He's going to get right back to the bumper of Brad Keselowski right down here in 3 and 4. Keselowski lets the car drift up the racetrack. Almirola cuts down to the bottom. Blaney gets loose off turn 2. Here comes Almirola. He's got the run down the backstretch. Down the backstretch. This is for the lead. Almirola now gets a fender out in front. Can he hold on to the bottom of the racetrack? His car working at the bottom. He's got the lead. Here comes Eric Almirola for the final time today. the day. What a no-give-up effort today for the driver of the number 10 car, safely into turn 3. He's headed for home. Bell trying to close the distance.
He's going to run out of time. On the magic mile, Eric Almirola has turned the trick. The upset win in the Foxwoods Resort Casino 301. Eric Almirola, welcome to the 2021 playoff.
This is by far one of my favorite racetracks. I love coming up to the New England area and racing. I love this racetrack. I had this race won a couple years ago, and I gave it away. I lost it. And I am so glad to win a race here with this race team. Man, this feels so good for them. My pit crew did a phenomenal job on pit road. All the guys that work on this car, they just keep fighting. They just keep digging, bringing the best race car they can bring every week. And it is no doubt we have struggled, but guess what? We're going playoff racing.
The dominant car, Ross Chastain, has dominated this race here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. He will pick up his first career victory.
Matt Collick wanted this very scenario to win a race. How about win at Daytona? Ross Chastain will win. Ross Chastain from Alva, Florida. The family, the reason for the watermelon, that's what their business is. They are watermelon farmers. It's become his trademark. Ross Chastain will smash a watermelon after the win.
Ross Chastain has fought and scratched his way to the top of NASCAR. Now, he admits he's still learning, but in the process, sometimes he gets inserted into a sibling rivalry.
The 42 car is now taking that high side, trying to take the line away from the 18, and look at what it does. The one car, Kurt Busch, drives right up to the inside of the 18, Kyle Busch.
Would have been a hell of a lot better one and a longer one if it wasn't for some butthead. You know, it was ours to lose, and we lost it.
Hey, are you talking about the lap car Chastain or another one?
Well, if you knew who the hell I was talking about, it's pretty self-explanatory, right?
The watermelon farmer turned cup racer, Ross Chastain, is up next.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
All right, my next guest is a watermelon farmer from Alva, Florida that really knows the value of hard work. His racing saga, it's been well documented, and it continues to this day as Ross Chastain runs the Cup Series this season for Chip Ganassi Racing. I am very pleased to visit with Ross Chastain, driver of the Ganassi number 42 Camaro. Hey, bud, welcome to the Wind Tunnel.
Yes, sir, Mr. Root. It really is an honor, man. I don't just say that, like a normal pleasantry of an interview. I really do mean it.
Listen, that's real kind of you. And Mr. Arute was my late father. I'm just known as Jack, okay? I want to go back to the very beginning. How did a kid that's working in the family's watermelon farm get the bug for auto racing?
Man, it started with my dad before I was born and some after when I was young. He did some hobby racing. There was a local track in South Florida called Punta Gorda Speedway.
I've been there.
Charlotte.
I've been there.
Yes, and he raced there and just had a need for speed, just liked it. Met a guy named Bobby Deal that had some trucks in a fast truck series he was running, and he had a few of his own that he would rent out for a couple $100. So he helped my dad do that, and then my dad ended up buying a truck and got a trailer and got tools and just fell in love with it. Just kind of learned what wedge was, what's nose weight, what's left side weight, what's a different spring or shock, what works. So he just did that and had fun. And then when my brother Chad was born, 2 kids at home, a growing watermelon business, he was like, I probably should focus on that. So he sold all the racing. And I was probably 5 or 6. And then whenever I turned 12, he was like, "Hey, let's go watch Mark Martin's son Matt race. I think that would be really cool." So I said, yeah. So we went up there. We'd been up before and watching Matt win that night. He had the Gatorade sponsorship, big Gatorade hauler. Mark's there. They all spray him with Gatorade. He wins the race, wins the championship, and it's like, my dad, like, I think kind of off the cuff, looks at me in the stands and goes, "What do you think about that? Do you want to do that one day?" And I said, "Yes, like, of course." Yeah, that kid is awesome. He was right about my age. And I was in the next race. My dad borrowed a truck that he used to race against. Literally, there's still pine needles blowing around inside this race truck the first time I drive it. Like, and I have that vivid memory because it's just a moment I never forgot.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I fell in love with it.
Love, no matter what it is, has a downside to it. And that's the fact that if you love something, you give it your all and then more. And sometimes it can be cruel. In your journey up the ladder, there were moments where life really dealt you some cruel hands. What was probably the most disappointing moment for you as you tried to climb up that very, very steep ladder to where you're at now?
Hands down was shutting down the 42 Xfinity program. No way around it. I'd been in the sport long enough to feel like I had found my spot and my home in the sport. It was going to be those mid to back of the pack teams, and I was going to help build them, and I was going to hopefully build one into something great, but it wasn't going to happen today, and it wasn't going to happen tomorrow. And all of a sudden, midway through 2018, I get a dream scenario to go drive for the best team in the Xfinity Series, in a series that I'm currently have been racing in for 4 years in a row. I know all the tracks. I know I know how the races play out. I'm as good as I can be, and I get a chance to go drive the fastest car. And we go and we crash in the first one, but then we win and we finish second, and I get a full-time ride only for that off season for it to all go away.
The owners of DC Solar pleaded guilty today to what's being called the biggest Ponzi scheme in the history of the Eastern District of California.
Having to walk in and listen to the bosses, here at CGR, and we'll talk through it with them, but like, we're going to have to shut this down and lay people off. And we're looking at laying off a lot more people. And they really minimized it to just the Xfinity program.
You have been somebody, even in the way you drive, as an observer, that I see is, okay, if things don't quite work out the way you had planned, you kind of adjust on the fly. And lo and behold, I think you've got a guardian angel up topside that kind of looks over and says, "Listen, kid, just stick with us," because as dark as days are, then all of a sudden things turn around, and lo and behold, look where you're at today by happenstance.
Well, you mentioned it a few moments ago about loving something and how cruel it can be. But if you love it, it doesn't feel like work, and it doesn't. It's not just gonna. One thing going wrong isn't gonna make you just walk away from it. We don't all have to be in racing. Like, this race shop, I'm right here. I'm at Chip Ganassi Racing right now. You're here, right? You've been in this sport a long time. Like, like you mentioned, I don't want to say the number, but we could have gotten other jobs. Sure. We could have found something else. We probably could have made a little bit more money along the way. We probably could have traveled less. But that's not what we want. So it doesn't matter if 1, 2, or 3 things go wrong today. I'm still going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to try to be the best. What's so cool is my job is to be the best race car driver I can be. And really part of the reason I've just fully bought into being a CGR driver, over the last 3 years, was that when I got here, I didn't have to do everything else anymore. I got my job from Chip, from Mr. Ganassi, Mr. Ducart, the guys upstairs, and my bosses said, "Look, you are a race car driver. Go be the best race car driver you can be." That's all I want to do. Like, that's everything else is just, is just extra.
Throughout the course of this season, we've watched CGR kind of get better and better and better. And in Atlanta, it came to fruition with your teammate, the old guy, Kurt Busch. But along the way, I've heard interviews with you, and you kept saying to others, in total and complete transparency, "I still have a great deal to learn driving these Cup cars." What is it on your bucket list of things I need to learn that you feel are necessary to take the step to the next level?
Well, there's a lot of things I could do better, but my focus right now is to be better at not taking that last little bit, as not taking that last position realizing it's a long cup race, realizing every driver in the field is incredible. They're racing at a high level, and to pass them is going to be challenging, let alone the aerodynamics and everything else you have stacked against you. But really my focus to be as good as I want to be right now and for the foreseeable, I don't know how long it is and will be, to just not try to take that next bit, whether it's one's position on track or whether it's driving in the corner 5 feet deeper, like just not trying to take it and truly letting driving the car and not forcing it.
Let's go to Atlanta for a second, because when it happened, I stood up and cheered, to be quite frank with you. But yet I was pretty astonished that there were trolls that decided that you had done something wrong. I don't know if you've had the opportunity, but I want to give you the opportunity to set the record straight, how you went about it, how it unfolded, and how you feel now about it.
First and foremost, it is one team, one goal. I believe in that. There's a huge banner that hangs in the middle of the shop here in Concord. Aside from that, though, I'm racing to stay on the lead lap, and Kurt asked for the bottom. And that's the two simplest aspects of it. Beyond that, yes, the guy that loses is going to be upset. The guy that was running the high line is going to be upset, but I'm not going to block my teammate. So I'm going to go where he wants me to go, which is out of his lane where he'd been running. And yeah, I'm not trying to run into anybody. I'm not trying to do anything else. It's one team, one goal. And so, there people online, man, I get it. There's a platform there for everybody to have their opinion heard and for at least seen, and out there. So I have definitely learned over the years to let that stuff roll off and just try to be a positive light when I am on social media, which is not enough. I don't post enough by any means, but I'm glad, obviously if I can't win, the next best thing is that one car to be on top of the pylon. So anything I can do is I'm all in.
Well, what's the old adage? Opinions are like, but never mind. I can't go there. Look, you got the rest of this season. There's a lot of uncertainty yet again with the sale of CGR. I get the impression that Ross Chastain is the kind of guy that doesn't panic about any of that says, look, I'll let my body of work be my resume, and we'll see what happens at the end of the season. Am I onto something, Ross?
Yes and no. And
okay.
I will be honest, because I've gotten better and I've learned from my past, I'll call them mistakes. For example, like we talked about shutting down the Xfinity program, it took me a full 2 weeks to honestly get through that. I went home to Florida and just had I had honest conversations, but I just took time off of racing and took 2 weeks to just like get through that. And it was like I felt like I was losing family members. I was losing my race team. We were already preparing for the next year. This time, like the sale, it took 8 hours to comprehend it, get through it. By the time I went to bed Wednesday night of the announcement, I was good. I went and ate some ice cream. I drowned my sorrows in a chocolate waffle cone, and man, I woke up Thursday morning and like you said, man, yeah. So no, I don't just not care, and I don't not that anybody doesn't care, but I don't just not worry, because I do. But it was 8 hours of worrying, and then it was right back Thursday morning to okay, I'm not going away. I'm going to be in the sport. I'm not ready to go back to the farm, and I'm not ready to go do anything else yet. I want this to work, and a lot of people want this to work, but I have a position and a platform to prove that and to the right people. So it's full speed ahead, just like it would have been if the sale didn't happen. Nothing changed.
Listen, you got a bright future ahead of you. Take it from an old fart that's seen people come and go. I do appreciate your visiting with me today, and tough times never last. Tough people do, and you embody that, Ross Chastain, and I'm really pleased that you decided to join me here in the wind tunnel.
Yes, sir. Well, you're Mr. Root to me. I appreciate it, sir. I will hopefully see you this weekend or see you soon, and it's awesome to be on with you.
That's Ross Chastain. We'll have more of the wind tunnel right after this timeout.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with advanced same day and get your part with same day pickup in store, same day curbside, or same day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
With apologies to Rocky and Bullwinkle, it's time for Wind Tunnel Stories. Not fractured, and certainly not fairy tales. Instead, they're stories collected during my 50 years in racing. This is a story about my dad, who was also named Jackaroot, and Daredevil Evel Knievel. In the 1970s, Knievel was America's Daredevil. He was a staple on ABC's Wide World of Sports, jumping the fountains at Caesars in Vegas, school buses at Frisco's Cow Palace. And oh yeah, there was that Snake River Canyon rocket jump that he milked for almost 5 years. Before Evel prematurely deployed his parachute on that canyon rocket jump, I booked him for a jump at my father's Stafford Speedway in Connecticut. I was the track promoter there at the time, and although nothing ever happened there without my father's complete approval, maybe with the exception of Evel Knievel, I booked him without telling my dad. You see, Dad hated racetrack gimmicks. He was a purist through and through and frowned on anything other than quality racing. Stafford certainly enjoyed plenty of that, but when I was approached by Knievel's manager, I jumped at the chance and just figured that, well, I'll just ask for forgiveness later. Little by little, my father warmed up to the idea, especially when the local radio and TV and newspapers started pumping up Knievel's appearance. So it's the night of the jump. There was not a seat to be had as more than 12,000 fans stuffed themselves into the track to watch the famous Evel Knievel. Now, earlier in the day, Knievel had arrived at the track and laid out his plan. He explained that jumping 14 shiny new Chevy pickup trucks was not going to be a problem. What might be a problem, though, was where to set up for the jump. Long story short, my maintenance guy went to the local lumber yard, cleaned them out of 4x8 sheets of plywood to provide the runway Evel would use that night in the middle of the infield. Evel wanted to do the jump in the center of the infield, so, as he said, everyone could get a good look. Well, that was okay by me. What wasn't okay, though, was what happened that night. We ran a midget racing car to fill some time, and then by 9 o'clock, we were ready for the jump. 9 o'clock turned to 9:30, and Evel Knievel was holed up in his trailer right in the middle of the infield for all to see. I later learned that, hey, that was part of his act. String out the jump, build the anticipation, and then the crowd would go wild when he was successful. Well, it didn't quite go that way that night. See, imagine 12,000 fans with nothing to do other than order another beer, and you get the picture of what was starting to unfold. By the time Knievel came out of his trailer, decked out in his white leathers and his gold-tipped cane, the crowd was, well, shall we say, unruly. Evel, 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 they continued to chant. Finally, Knievel got on his Harley and started zipping back and forth on the plywood runway that we had constructed. Then, without warning, he rides up to my father and me and says, I can't do the jump. The plywood is just too wet. You'll just have to give the people back their money. That's when my dad reached over the bike's handlebars, grabbed Knievel by the top of his leathers around his collar, pulled him nose to nose, and said, Evel, you're going to make this goddamn jump, or you're going to have to teach me how to do it, because those people up there are going to rip my grandstands down. Evel immediately got the message. You could see that there was some fear that some New England racetrack promoter was going to cancel his subscription. Evel eventually made the jump. We moved it on the track's front stretch, and everyone was happy. My father did inform me under no uncertain terms was I ever again to book, as he called it, some carnival act at his racetrack. Almost 20 years later, I was in Las Vegas for a personal appearance at the SEMA Automotive Convention. And lo and behold, the guy sitting next to me at an adjacent table, yep, the one and only Evel Knievel. He saw my name card and looked a little bit confused, and he said to me, You can't be Jackaroo. You're way too young. I met Jackaroo 20 years ago, Evel Knievel said, and he was one crazy mother.
Only now you know the rest of the story.
Ericsson has to hustle right here. He's got the long straightaway out of the keyhole. That's his best shot to make a move.
You're struggling here. Everything you got, buddy.
Doesn't want to lose the back end.
Use
You
your
cannot
overtake.
afford a big slide here. Steady on the throttle. Roll it on as Newgarden does. Ericsson is on the attack. It is essentially all corners from here. It would take a big mistake from Newgarden, a big slide, a big moment to allow Ericsson to get close. I don't know that it matters. Ericsson is flying. That gap is now down to about half a second.
Well, Marcus Ericsson joins us now, already with a win in the NTT IndyCar Series in 2021, and taking full advantage, Marcus, of the time off before we get back to action in Nashville. Tell my listeners where you're at right now.
I'm actually back in Europe. I'm in Spain at the moment, so getting a bit of time off, just seeing friends and family, and then flying back to the States later this month. So yeah, it would be nice to recharge for the second half of the year.
Is there anything on your hit list while you're back home that you'd like to do besides just visiting with friends and family?
No, not really. I think, that's the main thing. Just haven't seen them. I haven't been in Sweden since January, so it's been a while. So just to see friends and family and enjoy some time with them, and then go back and get after it for the last 6 races.
All right, let's talk for a moment about this season, because finally, in America, we call it getting off the schneid. And you did that with the Huski Chocolates car by scoring your first victory. So how or has it in any way changed the way you approach the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it gives first win to get that out of the way is always big. So but for me and for my whole crew, I think it's a great thing to get that first win out of the way. And that, we've just have been really strong in Road America, and then, Ganassi, Ohio, my best qualifying in IndyCar with P3, and then a really, really strong race. Almost getting Joseph there in the end, but still, finishing second was a great effort. So I think, like everyone would say, when you get that first win, it's just a big. It just does a lot. Winning is such a big difference to being second or third.
How would you describe your driving style?
I think my biggest strength is my racecraft and the way I can look after tires and fuel and everything. I try and think a couple of steps ahead all the time, and I think that's something that's really pays off in IndyCar, because IndyCar, it's one thing to be fast, but you need to be clever and be really strong in the races over longer stints to be able to win. And I think that's something that's been my strength all my career, but especially in IndyCar. Problem I've had is that I've been qualifying a bit too far back, so I haven't been able to show that racecraft as often as I would have liked. But I think now, when I start to qualify a bit higher up and then sort of starting to unlock that piece of the puzzle, I feel like I've really started to show how strong I can be on race day. And I, like you say, I've been sort of under the radar a bit. Not many people has been noticing it, but I've had top 10s on every road and street course this year, and I think that's a pretty impressive record, and gotta keep that going. And P5 in the championship now, it says a lot after 10 rounds.
I want to go back to your racecraft for a second. After so many years, Marcus, of honing and polishing that type of racecraft, does it come naturally to you, or is it something that you actually have to think about, even if it's just for a split second or so?
I think it's something with my experience. I think my 5 years in F1 and all that, it's something I've learned a lot over the years and sort of perfected. But then of course you can never be, you always need to keep learning and keep pushing yourself, because otherwise someone else will become better than you, or other people will be better than you. So I think that's something I always, work very hard to try and always improve myself. And I have a great team around with my engineers, with Dario, and with all these people that helps me as well. But it goes a lot down to experience, but also hard work, I would say.
I'm glad you brought up Dario, because Dario Franchitti being there on the stand, not only for you, but for everyone else on the Ganassi team. What does he bring to the party?
He brings a ton of experience and then a mindset, and he knows how to win. And I think that's something that it's never bad to have that around. and then, he's a good teacher as well. He always is very open and he always try and help. And I think he's been a big part of my improvement in this year. He's been bouncing stuff off Dario. It's been something I've been doing a lot, especially now the last couple of weeks. Me and Dario have had a lot of discussions how I can improve my qualifyings. And Darius, with all his experience and his career, he's helped me a lot there. And I think for me that's super valuable, to have someone like him to just help you become a better racing driver, basically.
All right. So without giving away any trade secrets, you say Dario's been able to help you at least attack qualifying better. Give me a little nugget that he shared with you that said, Marcus, you need to start doing fill in the blank.
Yeah, I think one thing that we've talked a lot about is the mindset going into qualifying and stuff like that, and the mindset over a race weekend. How do you approach a race weekend, and the practice sessions, what is important in the practice sessions, and stuff like that. We've been discussing a lot of things like that. I think that was one of the things in Mid-Ohio that we tried to sort of focus more on, just feeling in the car and then doing a lot of laps and getting everything sort of tick all the boxes, and not focusing anything really on lap times until we got to qualifying, and then put all that they will learn in practice to use in qualifying to be able to qualify higher up. And I know it sounds easy maybe when you say it, but it's not, and I think especially in a series like IndyCar, it's many times I've been 18th on the grid, but maybe a 10th or two would have made such a big difference. So we're talking small things, but I think that's stuff that Dario has a ton of experience of and can help with.
You alluded to the fact that your pedigree includes time in Formula One. People always want to know the differences between F1 and IndyCar. And let's face it, we're seeing more and more F1 expatriates deciding to take on a career in IndyCar racing. Can you explain to me what some of the differences are?
Yeah, I think from a driver perspective, what I loved about coming to IndyCar is just the fact that everyone's got a chance. The one spec series and a lot of good teams. But it's just the pure fact that you wake up in the morning and know that you can win the race, be everything perfect. And I think that's something that unfortunately in F1 that's not the case. It's only maybe 4 guys and wake up and feel last, on race day in Formula One, and that's a bit of a shame. And I think that's why people like me and Romain and Kevin as well. That's why we have enjoyed it so much, taking the step over to America and race here, because it's just to get that sort of feeling back is something I miss a lot. And then I think also, obviously the cars are very different. It's more old school type of cars, and they are tough to drive, but really, really fun to drive. And without the power steering, it's a very different experience how to drive the cars. And like I said, I think it sort of brings me back more to how it was when I started racing, sort of thing. And that's super fun.
You talked about Romain being the latest. So who's next? Who do you expect in the, over the course of maybe, like, let's say next season, that decides to put his toe in the water in IndyCar?
It's a good question. I think on top of my head, I don't really have a clear name. I would say maybe I hear rumors about Da Costa, Antonio. He's not a F1 guy, but he's, a big star in Formula E and has been good in many different categories. And he would be great to be in IndyCar. I think from the F1 grid, I'm not sure which one or who I could think of there, but I know for a fact that, IndyCar is getting more and more attention over in Europe, over in the F1 world, especially, after, like I said, I went over here and then Romain as well. It's definitely a lot of people that's following it. And also, I think thinking about it, is this, the move I want to do. So I wouldn't be surprised over the next couple of years to see more and more F1 drivers coming over.
All right. Before I let you go, knowing that you're over there, have you been to the Huski Chocolates factory?
And I haven't been there. I just got back to Europe yesterday, actually. So but we have some fun stuff that we're gonna do here when I'm back in Sweden. We're gonna do some good stuff for the rest of the year. So and I'm gonna drink plenty of Huski chocolates. That'd be good.
Who hits you up the most in the series for some free Huski chocolate?
Pretty much everyone, to be honest. It's a lot of journalists and then different drivers and stuff. And it's been a bit of a shame that we haven't been able to sort of have the products out more in the races. Obviously COVID came and sort of made them plans a bit more difficult, but hopefully, in the future that will happen. So everyone can enjoy some Huski chocolate on race day.
Yeah. And look, you don't need to give us journalists any chocolate. We're already too fat. Okay. We don't need that. What we need is some diet supplements. Okay. As far as drivers and fans, I get it. Listen, enjoy your holiday back home, and we'll catch up with you coming up at Nashville in August, my friend. Thanks so much for joining me here inside the wind tunnel.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Camp Victory. Oh, Camp Victory? I thought this was Camp Liberty. Oh, no, they changed that about a week ago. Victory sound better. All right. So what do you got?
The car has been parked illegally. The suspension is sagging. There's definitely something heavy in the trunk.
Interesting.
What's he doing?
I'm gonna die. I wanna die comfortable.
How many bombs have you disarmed?
873.
873? You're a wild man, you know that?
It was a movie about an Army bomb disposal team in Iraq.
It's now time to find out which one of this year's 10 great films joins a list that includes that Bogart and Bergman classic. And the winner is The Hurt Locker. Captain Bigelow.
One of the real-life inspirations for The Hurt Locker struggled with life after his military career, only to find driving a race car as his civilian comfort zone. I'll visit with Jeff Sarver, a late model regular at the Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway, for the rest of that story in this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap. Next.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
I'm Kyle Rickey from MRN Radio, the voice of NASCAR. They are the foundation of American motorsports, the launching pad for racing's future. Time now for the Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, driving local racing and local communities forward.
Well, the saga of my next guest is really not all that unusual for veterans of the armed forces that return and try and recapture their life. But the way that my guest Jeff Sarver found the way to get his life back and to enjoy life is where he may part company from most folks. We're talking about the way that he has adopted and embraced auto racing, the short track version, to provide him with the juice that he once enjoyed while protecting our country, and he joins us now. So, Jeff, it was an interesting story as I heard about it, that after more than a dozen years in the armed services, you're mustered out, you retire, and you kind of were, like a lot of your peers, a little bit at a loss for where you could maybe find some peace of mind when you were finally back home. Tell me a little bit about the saga that led you to the Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway.
Well, I was stationed here for 5 years at Fort McCoy, and we used to go to the races. And I thought it'd be pretty fun. So when I came back here to retire, I bought my house when I was in Afghanistan, came back, and one of the guys that was working as a contractor, he said he's going to get a race car and race. And he was like, you should get one too. I was like, I heard they're buddy pits. And so we went and got race cars, and then didn't have a clue about it. I thought you just get in and go, which is not even close to even remotely to understanding the dynamics behind a race car. So I met some really great guys at the track, and I still feel lost even to this day. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. Go from 20 years in the Army of, Uncle Sam telling you where to, when to eat, when to go run, when to go to the bathroom, when you go to sleep, to I'm a retired civilian now and still lost.
And yet you're gaining on it. From what I've heard, after several part-time years, you're starting to build your racecraft to the point where you've decided now that it becomes a family affair as you've expanded your operation to include your son and also your daughter. And so typical of what we see in Advanced Auto Parts NASCAR weekly racing series action. And that's an opportunity on a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday night for an entire family to come together with one goal in mind. How important is it to you and your family?
We enjoy it. It gives us a little bit of common ground. But my kids, my two kids, my 12 and 14-year-old one, they're going to be in a late model by the end of the season, at least doing hot laps and getting some seat time.
Where do you think you still have a lot to learn when it comes to strapping yourself in the cockpit of that late model?
I learn every time I get in it.
Yeah.
Every time. Like when I was in the Army doing EOD or bomb disposal, if it was the day you quit learning is the day you need to hang it up because you're going to get hurt. Even like today, I bought a whole new shock package, and that's a whole nother book I got to get to catching up on.
You talk about your time as part of a bomb disposal crew in Afghanistan. There was a moment in time where a journalist came over and was embedded with your group for about 35 days. And the end result was what?
A Hollywood cheesy movie.
Nate Sanborn. My team leader is inspiring. He's gonna get me killed.
What's the best way to go about disarming one of these things?
The way you don't die, sir.
And a Playboy article.
It won an Oscar, it won several Oscars. You say it's cheesy, way too Hollywood for actually what you guys had to endure and go through every day.
Oh yeah, you never go out by yourself. You can't. You'd be an idiot if you wanted to sneak out outside the wire to go after DVDs or whatever that guy was doing. It kind of gave a glimpse to not only just EOD but the whole Army. Kind of gave you the biggest thing was the most important part. The most accurate part is when he goes into the grocery store and looks at all the food. You go away for 6 months living in Iraq or Afghanistan or a year, you get back and everything's completely different. And, little things like that kill you. But that movie actually showed the depth of the camaraderie and brotherhood. And I found that kind of in a roundabout way here racing.
Yeah, what are the similarities? You talk about camaraderie. I mean, one of the things, the nature of the beast, Jeff, is that you're supposed to go out there and be selfish and beat and bang and root and gouge on your fellow competitors. And yet you, the newbie that you were, turned to them for advice on how to, do tire stagger, I'm sure you're going to turn to them about this new shock package. And even when you're not racing, it seems as if you enjoy migrating back to the racing community. Why?
Some of the guys in the tractors, a couple that are probably one of my closest friends now, they been around me long enough. They picked up my mannerisms from the Army, and they kind of show some of that too. They poke at me pretty hard and I poke back. And as far as selfish on the track, remember there's about 18 or 20 other guys that can poke you and send you through the grass or up into the concrete. So you have to play nice, try to be nice.
I found a quote from you in an article as I prepared for our visit, and you said, quote, "With other drivers, they're kind of thick-headed and have big egos, but they all have a human side where they remember how they felt when they started off." I thought that was pretty damn perceptive on your part, that you already and immediately figured out that all of that bravado and all of that gusto that they want to project deep down inside, they're no different than Jeff Sarver.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I mean, you know, we all, it's a show. It's put on the show, in my opinion, for the next generation of kids, because the kids, the ones that are watching us now are the ones who are going to be doing it when I'm walking with a stroller or a walker or in a hover round. So you got to be, you know, it's the kids is the big important part of it. And you see a lot of these big, tough, you know, guys with the big giant egos turn around and be the nicest guy to a little 6-year-old or 5-year-old. I mean, there's guys here that, you know, when they win a feature or whatever, they give their trophies away to little kids, and just the expression on his little kid's face is worth, you know, spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on a race car to go in circles.
Jeff, it's never ceased to amaze me the commitment that it takes for you to give up your personal freedoms to go defend our freedoms, and yet that's what you did. How did it change you as a human being?
Well, I got to see that not everybody in the world likes this country. I got to see some pretty devastating stuff. See some stuff that no other person should be told about or described, because that's something that, you know, we'll have to live with the rest of our life, that image. But I would say it humbled me. I mean, you think, you know, like downtown, you think these little kids and these families have it really, really rough. But when they're sitting there begging on the side of the road for a bottle of water, or they're begging for an MRE to eat, you know, it's pretty humbling, because you look back in your truck and you just have a cooler full of ice water and a big box of MREs. You kind of take it for granted until you're put in those situations where you can see how, you know, the rest of the world goes, and it humbles you.
Listen, it's a real pleasure. In fact, it's an honor for me to visit with you and to learn a little bit about your story. I don't think it's that far down the road that once you get that shock package on that car, that you might be tasting a checkered flag or two. Most importantly, thank you and your peers for your service, because as I said, without you, we wouldn't enjoy the freedoms and be able to go to places like the Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. Good luck.
Okay, thanks,
Go
sir.
get them. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Be sure to join us again next week for another trip to racing's grassroots with the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, advancing the next generation of drivers and champions. I'm Kyle Rickey from the Motor Racing Network.
There's more to come here on Wind Tunnel, so keep listening.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Many thanks to this week's guests, Indycar's Marcus Ericsson, Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway's Jeff Sarver, and NASCAR's Ross Chastain. We continue to grow our listenership, and you can be of great help in that regard. Please let your social media followers know about the series, won't you? Also, remember that the entire Wind Tunnel series can now be downloaded at your favorite download site. And we have a Wind Tunnel YouTube channel, where in addition to posting each weekly episode, we feature a series called Uncut and Unplugged that puts the interview video with the audio. And believe me, it is indeed totally unedited. I appreciate your visiting. Look forward to seeing you again next week, right here on Jackaroot's Wind Tunnel.
Today's trip to the Wind Tunnel was brought to you by
Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.